Right, year 9. So I've talked in your homework task this week about how you might keep an electronic learning log. Now, obviously, one way of keeping a log is to make sure that you write notes in your notebook. I think that's probably the best place for it. But some of you might prefer to do something which is a little more electronic, a little bit more 21st century. So if you want to do that, I've opened up a folder here, so you can get through that by going into your bit.ly link, which to get into that, what you'll do is just type in www.bit.ly/yr9 MFL16, like that. And when we click into this, you'll find that it opens up into a generic Year 9 folder, which you then need to go into the Year 9 French one. And you need to go into my folder. And then I've actually created a folder which just says skills. So it's this one here. So when you click into that skills folder, you will then see the things that I'm just about to show you, because there's nothing in there at the moment because I'm going to do this live. So if I click back into that, it doesn't matter if I could have stayed on the one that I was on, but anyway, if I click onto this, two ways of doing this. First of all, I might want to just have a Google Sheet, and if I open a Google Sheet like this, and this is going to be my learning log. So this is a learning log, not just for French, but actually for other things as well. So when this loads up, once it's worked, if we just click into here, and I'm going to call that a learning log, like so. Now you'll notice that you've got different tabs here. Now, two ways that you can do this. First of all, you could just type in at the top something like subject. Let's have a date, and then let's have a subject, and then let's have a note. Now, obviously, you want these ones to be a little bit. Well, actually, if we just select these three, because they're the only three that I'm going to have. I'm going to make those a little bit bigger, so I've got a little bit more space. So each time you want to make a note, you could just type in the date. So today's date is the 8th of the 11th, 16, and that puts it in like that. And then you just type in the subject. Oops, let's type that properly. And then you're just going to type in the notes. So the things that you learn. So it might be I learned about how to conjugate the present tense. You might want to include some details about that now to shift it down, because if I just press enter, it's just going to take me out of that box, and that's not actually what I wanted to do. So I think it's control and then enter, and then it just takes me down in the same box, so I can have more information than just that stuff there. So if I take that down and then start to write, for example, okay, for example, and then again we need to control enter, and then je take off the ER and add E, for example, right? So that's one way that you can do that. And when I click in, it then keeps my note. So there's one way. The other way is if I come out of that. So if I cross that and I just go back in, you'll see that my learning log has been saved. I'm going to create a second learning log. So my other learning log would be in a slightly different order. So rather than including it as one of the columns, this time I'm going to type in here when it comes up. I'm going to call this learning log 2. So once I've got that, what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to rename. So click on that little arrow, go down to rename, then I'm going to have a French tab. And then because you study more than just French, you could then click down, you could rename each of these tabs to whatever it's going to be, and then you just make your notes on there instead. The benefit to having it on something like this, of course, so the first one that we used, is that once you then type in, let's say, English in this second one down here as being the subject, and then making our notes there. Oops, what's happened there? So let's type in our date there, 11th, 16th, and then type in our new subject, and then whatever our note will be there. And then I'm actually going to make a different note, which is on the 12th of the 11th, 16. And I'm going to have French again. So this one's going to be a French one, then make my note in there. Is that if I go in here and click on where it says 1, and then go into data, and then filter, it will then give me some filters at the top. And obviously then if I just want to see just my French notes, I click on that, and then my French notes are going to come up like that. Reset it. I want to see my English notes as well. Or of course I might want to change the things like this. So I might want to say all of the notes that I made on the 8th, and then see it like this. So this is a learning log, the idea of a learning log. And I would say that those two ways of doing that would probably be the easiest two ways if you wanted to do it digitally. Other than that, of course, use a book. You either use the book that I've given you, so you've got the green book that you could use to make your notes for French, and then you have lots of those different types of books, one for each subject, or of course you could get a bigger book that you can divide up into sections maybe, or you can make notes throughout and just make it very, very clear about what's what. Personally, I find it better if it's all in the same place, because then I can see whether or not there are similarities. Now, obviously, there are no similarities between conjugating the present tense with any other subject, because you don't, even though we do conjugate the present tense in English, I'm sure that you probably don't do that in your English lessons. But it might be that there is a skill that you use, let's say in maths, which is a skill that you also use in science, which when you write it down, it's all in the same place. You can see that those skills cross over. So I'll leave that there, because if you've listened to this, then you've already made it through over 6 minutes worth of me explaining something. So well done.